Good morning, trading world. It is October 12th, 2022, and it is 8:54 a.m. on the East Coast, and this is my pre-market outlook and technical analysis for trading the market. The technicals on the chart are aligning with fundamentals. From a technical point, we are deeply oversold with consolidation happening through the larger time frames, that be the daily and the weekly. And it could be the start of consolidation on the monthly as well. I like to use analogies, and one of the more popular ones that I use is the analogy of the time frames being individual relay runners in a relay race. Each runner has to run their lap before handing the baton to the next runner or time frame. However, there's a brief time when the baton is being handed over to the next runner where both runners are running at the same time in the same direction. When this happens, we get a very powerful move, even in consolidation. Pepper in a very high VIX, and we can get some serious fireworks. The VIX just kind of speeds up the process. The daily and the weekly time frame moves are usually slow, taking days to weeks to play out. But when the VIX is high like this, it speeds the daily and weekly time frame moves up to hours and days instead of days to weeks. So what we think are super large moves intraday are just consolidation patterns into breakouts on larger time frames. It is going to get very violent. I am not sure if we get to catch the bulk of the move because I expect a lot of it to happen pre-market. When it decides to take off, it will be amazing. I have already identified and executed into individual stocks I want to be long, those being Walgreens Boots and Intel. I've also executed into some bull put spreads and will likely do some more after the CPI move plays out. I only have a couple long puts left in the SPY and Apple, in which the one long SPY 12 October 22 371 put will likely be closed today. On the fundamental side, people forget that the market is a pricing mechanism in which most news is usually factored in ahead of time. So once the CPI news finally hits, it's going to be more of an exhale because it was being priced in days before. With that being said, let's get to the key levels to watch for the day. Alright, here we are with the key levels of the day. Starting on the support side, we have our Jack support at 359 to the 358 area. Then we have our Queen support 357 to the 355 area. Then we have our King support 354 to the 345. This is a very large range, and this is factoring in a lot of what could happen overnight. So like I said, that 371 put, it would be really nice to be able to get it off down here, but more than likely it's going to be up here in this area because the bulk of this could probably happen during pre-market hours. And we may get a good bit of it right at the close, but it's probably going to be shooting up like a rocket by that time. You never know how these things will exactly play out. So it's better safe than sorry. On the resistance side, we have our jack resistance at 361 to the 362 area. Then we have our queen resistance 363 to the 364 area. Again, we've kind of came up to test this a bit, but this is going to be the key, breaking through this area. And we may get a test and fail today, but I believe once it's tested again tomorrow, there will be a clean breakthrough at some point. Then we have our king resistance, which is 365 to the 369 area. The main thesis for today is bearish, closing below the 357.74 with a projected target lower between 356 and 350. The alternate thesis is bullish, closing above the 357.74 with a projected target high of between 358 and 369. The current major channel we are in is 364 down to 353. The major channel above is 364 up to 379. And because of what we're probably going to do overnight, it would be helpful to know that the major channel below this spans from 353 down to 342. We do have dissonance between the technical, which is bullish, and the quant side, which is bearish. We do have some order flow imbalance below, but expecting it to be brought back down to reconcile this kind of early in the day, and then probably again after market to pre-market once that CPI print hits. From here, let's take a look at the scenarios of the day. All right, our first most probable scenario is going to be our rounded reversal day type structure. We could get a continued push lower toward the jack or queen support area and find midday chop around either the queen or king support area before spending the same energy we used going down to go back up the second half of the day. And usually with the rounded reversal day type structure, we have to be prepared for the vice versa alert, which is the following. Instead of getting a continued push lower, we would actually reverse and start a push higher from the cash open, getting us up toward either the jack or queen resistance area. And we would probably find our midday chop somewhere in between probably the queen resistance area for our midday chop and then the second half of the day we would come back down with the same energy we used going up the first part of the day. So that's our rounded reversal day type structure. All right, our next day structure is going to be our range day structure. We could have an initial drop down, find support, and chop back and forth, but still end up mildly higher on the day. So that's our range day structure, and there's so many different variations that this can go. But the key thing about a range day is that we usually set a boundary, an upward boundary and a lower boundary, and kind of chop between. So that's the range day structure. All right, our last and least likely day structure is going to be our trend day up. We open gap up and start with a fade back toward the previous close. We find support on or before that previous close, then begin the uptrend for the day. We find midday chop around either the possible queen or king resistance area, and it'll be very interesting today to see how the second half of the day plays out, where normally we get a head fake looking to continue the dominant trend of the morning, and then the variations of how we head into close. A lot of times we do get a fade going into the close on a very strong trend day, especially when we have a report like that. We could see a really strong fade if we do have the trend day up. Also, we do have to be on alert because we're going to be right on the edge to where we could open and kind of flop into a trend day down. And that's if we get a lower move here, giving us that gap down, and then we come back and we can't get through the resistance of the previous close, and we start to pretty much have that golden window or trend down day, and it'll pretty much look something like this. So those are the scenarios for the day. I am expecting a very sharp move at some point between, or actually the CPI print itself, to be a very sharp move in my eyes down, and then reversing really sharp as well. So that move is probably going to be so sharp, so fast, that it will be almost impossible to catch. So that's why I'm doing certain things to kind of execute ahead of it, as well as some of the longs that I want to get into in individual stocks. I have a certain number of positions that I would like to do in the index itself, which are long positions, and I started executing a quarter of those beforehand, because I'm assuming this move is going to be so sharp that you're not really going to catch it. So as always, the most important job, your most important job as a trader, is to protect the capital that you already have. And we do that by knowing and understanding the risk that we have on in each position, and managing that risk in accordance to our account size. I hope this helps. As always, wishing you a positive trading day. Let's make it a great one.